Right. So today, just gonna discuss something that I also think is somewhat important and valuable to people. And I don't know if anyone's listening, but the key thing is I understand that somebody will, or at least when it's relevant, if necessary, somebody it is the information is there basically. It also just helps in expressing understanding. So basically, I think that I'm hearing and seeing people um, a new propaganda wave, disinformation matrix that's starting to manifest into fruition. And it was also referenced in one of the last seasons of Mr. Robot. So people are currently at the moment discussing things about China, right? So I'm hearing things about China and Africa and the ideology that you know I'm going to talk about a few things, but this is sort of get this out of the way, right? The China thing, right? Y'all just need to stop with that because there's a lot of things that people don't actually understand about China, and what people are trying to do are trying to incite or impede um, fear and the disability to be able to correctly operate in relation to the um, process. Yeah, in relation to the ultimately in relation to the process of this nation, right, that nobody knows fuck all about first and foremost, right? Everybody just has an opinion. Nobody truly knows, about that country in a way that we'd like them to correctly have an understanding of it. Like, China's not actually out to get Africa, but China is actually there to help Africa. China doesn't own, you know, things in Africa, but what China is actually doing is enabling itself to be able to do and to do business in different environments and creating relationships with people and individuals that will ultimately fulfill its future because people lack the understanding that it's the people that you work with and do business with that ultimately you know give back in the long run, right? And they give you that level of appreciation. So that's one thing about China. So you're gonna hear a lot of things, and you see those in Mr. Robo season 3 if you watch carefully. There's references there in relation to it having to do stuff. Like move my plant to the Congo, blah 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 blah. All that type of stuff, right? Is actually just people trying to expand their reach of business and to also expand the way in which people experience reality and living, which then also in the long run improves which then in the long run overall improves the ethos of the country because the reason why I have this 48 laws of power book here is because a lot of people don't actually know much about China, but if you actually read this book you get to know a bit more about China and its leaders in the past or ancient China, some of the dynasties and things of that nature. You'll be shocked. You'll be fucking like you won't believe it. It's awesome actually. But then again, at the same time, I think that that's where you then get that understanding, that corrective perception in relation to what they do. Trying to do, they're not trying to own anything in relation to the people. They're not trying to take over. They're not trying to be colonists. What they're actually doing is opening up those places to business to remove the abuse that they've experienced over the period of time in which they've been in existence, dealing with these other organizations and other entities and countries. Right. So that's that. So everybody just needs to stop, you know, penalizing it for being the only country that's doing honest business with the country. So that's pretty much that in relation to China. um and it's really nothing to worry about. Again, it'll be fine in the long run. Because a lot of people have obviously used that environment in order to do whatever it is that they're doing, so there's going to be complications there, but most of the things that you're going to see in order to combat that complication, to bring to light some of the negative things that's been happening in the country through the process of data and things of that nature. It's all going to be just propaganda, just people talking. That's all they can really do because it's not actually people that are in power that actually do stuff. It's just the people that are in power that are you know sort of rich and stuff like that or whatever. So that's where the propaganda is coming from. So I don't know how that's gonna play out, but I'm gonna watch it about 5 years or so. And there's also a time thing as well about it. So I'm gonna leave that, but I'm not gonna talk about the time thing too much because that's not really what this is about. These things that's happened there and why certain people within Africa have like some of the thought processes in relation to how the things happen and why it's still such a sort of looked down upon place. There's time related things, but I'm not gonna get into it. These are the things that we call spiritual and somewhat benially out of this world. Right, so that's that. Right now, the next thing is about. Okay, I'm gonna talk about. I think it's pronounced Hakawits, which I think Haki. Okay, what is it? Hakawatis. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about that piece as well because I think it's important. It's valuable, but I can't find a book to fully extrapolate exactly what it is my intended because the knowledge I have about it is quite limited. I only have knowledge based on my experience, but I wasn't can't find the fucking pamphlet I got, man. It was pretty interesting, but yeah. So that's that. That's one thing. Now the other things about white people, we need to stop generalizing white people as black individuals because a lot of people, again, lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, lack of taking the time to fully understand the reality. Like, yes, there's bad white people, but they lived in a different time. They still have parts of their mind state, you know. So we're still recovering from that, first and foremost. Secondly, in relation to the whites, is that there's a split group, right? So there's good white people and there's bad white people. Unfortunately, the bad white people had the majority of the power, and the good white people are there, but they're Jesus followers, believers and things of that nature, and they tend to not have qualms or problems with anyone and live in harmony and peace and things of that nature. But they tend to be, undermined by some of the negative white people who generally held a degree of power um, up to near enough the present day, or at least the millennia, and I think it was like around the 212 thing, most likely. So that's there, and basically there's a there's a dividedness amongst them in relation to that, and we believe that if any other groups of white people, because there's definitely a communication issue um, during the process in which the slave trade came into manifestation, or maybe just the discovery process, right? So you see that slavery happened in one hemisphere and the other hemisphere was kind of like fine, right? So if we really track the origin, it's not like the whole of Africa was pillaged, right? So we really have to take time to think about that. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like if and some of the stuff that happened, especially regarding some of the because what had to like what you have to understand is right. These people had been on boats, right, for fucking a long time, first and foremost. So they were fucking disoriented when they arrived in the environment, right? Secondly, they'll try to evaluate the consciousness, or at least how evolved the people, what they believe to be the terminology, evolved the people are in the present environment through various little tests and information that they'll basically ask, like, you know, like like the concept of contract, you know. But of course, black people did have a concept of contract, but I think word was bond as opposed. So there's all these variable things that had to occur, which then led to misunderstandings and things of that nature. people taking advantage and things of that nature. But it's quite difficult with people just trying to gauge and understand what's going on, what this environment is, and all those type of people. But I believe that if, for example, you know, Nordics were the ones to actually arrive, we'll be in a much better position. If we had any other, like if people from Switzerland came over, yeah, that would have been a much better environment, a much better living space, a much better. We'll be in a much different world today. Yeah, I gotta put this down as well. Foot on neck. But we will be in a much better day today, a much better world today than we currently are. Because we're in a good world, right? But it's not the best that it could be. There's so many things, like so many variables that could have been dynamic that would have made the place a much more enjoyable place. Right. So that's that. Um. Yeah, man. I think it definitely would have been so much different. Like if we had any other Europeans and things of that nature, and even if we had China, we wouldn't have been colonized. I guarantee you any money. If China was there, which they have been before in the past, I've got like proofs of pictures and stuff or whatever, but I don't really not really relevant at the moment. Like stuff that they created. But yeah, if it was them, it wouldn't have turned out the way it was. So you would have required empathetic people who had a true level of thinking that would have allowed them to fully engage and with the people, right, in a respectable, empathetic manner. Same thing, we actually don't know how it would have been like if it was different people from different environments who would actually came over. Like sometimes I wonder how it would have been like if it was. Yeah, there's definitely different things that would have made things thingy. But I think again, I said this previously, recently on one of the social medias, is that yeah, I said this recently. It's that yeah, no, I'm just trying to. Yeah, it's basically just not to be too. Like yeah, it's like there's the slavery thing in terms of like who discovered America, who went to America, etc., and things of that nature, and who did what and this, that, and the other. That's it. So yeah, so you'll find that David Livingstone wasn't like excommunicated for him to end up, you know, in Africa. And it's not like he discovered it, but he kind of, and it was difficult for them as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's different people to get an understanding of who did what and etc. etc. is all very important and somewhat valuable to a degree, right? So that's pretty much that in a nutshell. And I also think, and it's just not only to like from for black people to think about. If you look also at white people, if you didn't have your foot on black people's necks, we'll be much better off, because what's actually happening is that you need people to be able to do research. You need people to have access to education in order to fix the problems that are in the world, right? And you don't actually know how we're thinking like this. We need to celebrate people's differences, period, right? Whatever the fuck that means, which means that to celebrate people's uh just to celebrate people's differences, to celebrate each race's differences, although we're all the same, but we should celebrate those differences, whatever you may believe that they are. right? So I'm not gonna go too deep into it. Um, you know, there's a lot of political stuff which is like trying to be politically correct, but incorrect in terms of what they're actually saying. And I think with politics, it's highly deterministic as to what correct and incorrect is, and this, that, and the other, right? So you need to stop putting your foot on people's necks. You know, if you put people down and you actively, you're actually destroying yourselves. Um, you know, and you know, and that's just that. So you just gotta, because things like, for example, global warming, man, you don't know, man. People can do mad geoengineering, but there's not many people working on the problem to actually understand physics, things of that nature, man. Just you just let a couple people, you know, if you let that knowledge be free, you'd be surprised. You'd be fucking surprised. What people would do, you know, if they're not being like actively attacked by some racial fucking animal trying to figure out exactly what it is that they are, you know, because they believe that they have this level of superiority, but you know, when it disappears, it's really sad because a lot of them don't really like. They look for it, they continue looking, and it's just I don't know, I don't really care anymore. I don't. It's not my, it's not my thing. But yeah, you need to let go because these people aren't stupid. They're just, you know, it's just different states of minds and things of that nature, things that are beyond our general comprehension. But given the access to that information, you don't know what creativity, what ingenuity, um, you're blocking and things like that. So yeah, that's that that's one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things. And so that's that. You know, we're just like waiting, like then to take like 5 years or so for things to actually clear down and everything to be clear and for everyone to actually see what the fuck is going on. If you didn't see it during the COVID thing, but you know, you'll see. And yeah, and I think that's that really overall. Take that with a grain of salt. And now on to the Hakawits. Um, or Hakawatis. What the fuck is this thing say? Yeah, Hakawatis, right? So basically, it's like a play, Women of Arabian Nights, and it basically goes on the concept of uh, so these women, right, are like ancient Arabian. Well, not ancient to a degree. I don't really know what time frame it's based in. So I'm saying I can't find the little pamphlet I had of it. But basically, the pamphlet itself would have probably explained it, but basically it just means a story talk in Arabic, and it's like these sort of suppressed women, these women who believe that they're sort of suppressed because there's this guy who's like killing people or killing his wives, etc. I don't know, I need to find out about how his wife died or some bullshit like that. Somebody said something similar, but yeah. While listening to it, there's five of them, which basically take on the attributes of a definition of an Arabic woman. So you have like a dancer, a warrior, a young one, like naive and whatnot, the writer and the wise. So basically, this is what the women would do when they had like a husband who would then just put them in their like in their rooms, so like they had like quarters or something where they'll be chilling, and they would have like their stories and things of that nature, and they'll talk about things that they can't really talk about in public, pretty much. So just like a private environment, and then they'll just talk and share stories, similar to how any other people generally would, right? So for me personally, like I liked it ish, right? But then I think that like the first story had me thinking very differently because it was the first one was like, you know, like straight up infidelity and to a certain degree, and it was like, but like a woman cheating, right? And this was from the warrior. This would make sense, right? The warrior would be the one that would have that cheating or at least that mentality to take that risk. At least that's what, to take that risk to actually think, yeah, okay, cool. I'm gonna, she's gonna do this or do that, whether it be true story or not true or whatever the case may be, which is fine. I think it's okay, but for me, what was the? I can't remember what it is. Actually, for me, something in me was triggered, right? But I think that the thing in me that was triggered by that particular story, because I started thinking about it, it was actually, you know, the men perspective, right? Like, if she was doing that ad hocly, it wouldn't have been really a problem. Because for me, what I actually did is I put myself in the man's shoes, right? And I understand how much processing power that takes. So obviously, I listened to that and I'm like, cool, that would piss me off. I wouldn't want a woman to be doing that. At least no man would. But even I wouldn't want any other man to experience that. Like I hate that type of deception personally for anyone. So I'll put myself in this Arab man's shoes, who's misunderstood technically, and the women themselves don't actually, so I'll put myself in that shoes, and yeah, and I'll be pretty vexed. And I think that the thing that actually pissed me off was that she got like from her perspective she got away with it. So for me, for that woman to continue to sleep in that bed was the thing that would have that triggered my consciousness, right? Um, and I think that there's no problem with warriorism or for a woman to actively do that, but I think that in that warriorism you have to understand another code, right? Such as like Bushido or something like that, or whatever other codes that are available out there. And when you have that, you shouldn't be able to do that. Like you shouldn't be able to actively do that. So that's where my value comes in. Um, so that was pretty much it, really. Like I didn't really like, if I was in a situation, I wouldn't really be angry. But for me, what pissed me, what gets to me is understanding that man's point of view. Um, Overall, so I think that's as powerful. Beautiful women as well. Like the warriorish one. She's cool, but she's like the that's the activity, or at least the active mental state that she had, and that was the story, and that's the impact in which that particular story had in me. Like obviously, all really cool people, really good women, great looking stories, and performance as well, and talk. And I think hers as well was actually quite theoretically on and power chart. So she had that thing with her, which was really cool. But then there was also other things that I had to take into consideration in my thought process, and that's pretty much it. And that's basically what I think about that now. I think about that particular situation, but I think that was great because it gets you thinking and it puts you in a position to be able to actually say, okay, cool, this is a good show. I felt some emotion there, which was really great and really gave me aspects to think about, and I've had time to think about it further, and that's why I've come to this conclusion that I've shared here. A president, and then you had the wise. The wise one, she's kind of like the mom of the group. I would say she's like the oldest one, and she's probably the one that started the rumor about the killing husband guy. I don't know, because I think there's like five of them on one dude, bro. Like, what the fuck's gonna go on here? Like, does he have orgies? Like, beside the point, right? So, Naha, yeah, she's cool. She's just there, man. She's just YOLOing her thing, man. Ain't no stress over there. She just cool. I don't know. She tells her story is pretty funny as well. It was good but funny, She was talking about getting fellatio from somebody. And yeah, so I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, it was a funny story. It's beautiful in her own way. Definitely can cook. I think she'll probably be like maybe can cook. I don't know. Like I wouldn't know how to think here. Cool. And then you have the writer. The writer is just like emotion. I don't know. I can't really say anything about the writer too much. Can I? Well, I don't know. She was writing stuff, She was there and she had her stories as well. She had the stories about various different attributes of specific animals, I think, which is pretty intriguing. So I think this one here is probably talking just about human nature and um, how humans can be, and I think she's the one who actually enjoyed it more so. The environment of being the storyteller, she didn't actually wanna depart from that place. I believe. So yeah, so that's Akira. She was pretty cool. And then you have like the young one, which is like the new one to be married, and she's like excited about stuff. She's funny. The pillow. She's funny though. She's funny. And I think that there was definitely some intuition in the story, and that like they had this level of freedom in relation to who they are, who they can feel that they are, who they can be, um, etc. So I think that was definitely valid and valuable. Um, yeah, man. So she's meant to be sort of the. I don't know which one of them was eating the fucking. You know, I saw one of them like eating like a tangerine. I'm like, are you allowed to eat that with like you just imagine them just chilling in their own environments and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. And you can see that like in those particular environments they've developed a level of you can imagine just women staying at a compound or something or in a large house and they're looking after like one guy and basically this new lady came in, and then they just had to sort of like initiate her into the process. She didn't really know what was going on, and she like you could see that through the stories that they were talking about, she was sort of coming into her freedom. I think, because it's like little things, little funny little insinuation. She came in all dressed up or proper, and then when she left, she was looking kind of snazzy, and she was doing it like with the pillow, like with the round pillow, like as they were singing and telling stories, and you see like a little sort of reactions, which I think will be something that's actually quite realistic in the environment that they'll be in, ideally, maybe, So she was actually quite the one that was being initiated into the process and taking insights and learning from these other women who had been there and experienced this thing to be much more. She didn't really have anything, she had that level of curiosity, and like I said, she came in fully dressed up, gowned up and everything, and then all the other women sort of picked up clothes and stuff, but then also like at the end of it, she had a more sexier, agile, agilic, agilic, agile, agility, so had like a sort of level of agility and freedom of free flow to her, to like, well, I was like, okay, cool, yeah, she looks kind of, she looks like, yeah, like by the end of it, she looked like one of the girls. The fucked up thing is, yeah, and that was pretty cool. And then the last one, I think, like the dancer, her name's Fata, and then the warrior Zia. The last one was Wadia, the dancer. She was, yeah, she was kind of like there telling her stories as well, but sort of moving like, for me, because of the first story, right? The other stories are just like, it's just like I could still consider them, but the first one just hit my consciousness a bit much to a degree, and then from that point on, even though the other stories are pretty great, and listen to them, everything was fine. Um, and there was intermission and stuff, so I was able to get like one or two drinks and stuff, which was pretty cool. Didn't drink too much though. It's like one, two, three. So it's pretty cool. So there was that intermission. And then yeah, and just pretty much singing. But yeah, so the dancer was definitely she had vibes. I can't like I'm saying I can't really directly I couldn't be able to pinpoint directly a story, but then again at the same time I think that she looked great. She definitely had a waist. And there was one time when she was doing like this dance like by the door, and I was like, let me look away for a bit. Cause like I was like, yeah, it was like let me look away for a bit, man, cause her waist, yeah, like she was just like making bear noise, and like she was just like dancing to the waist and like all the other girls were like standing next to her, and I was just like, she looked good. Like she looked really like yeah, like yeah, man. Like I think that's definitely one of the attributes of our women as well is that those waist dancing, which then also extended on to India or from India to Arabia. I don't know. It doesn't take that much to figure out how to you know like I mean like in the span of like for women over 3 generations, it doesn't take that long. Like it's not impossible for them to know waist dancing without it coming from India or for the Indians to know waist dancing without it coming from Arabia. But yeah, so yeah, so I think she was pretty hot. They're all pretty hot to be fair, but her and her waist, man, that shit should be legal, man. That shit should. It's not like something where like you look at it pervertedly, but like you feel that you look at it pervertedly, you know? So that's why I was like, you know what? I'll look for like 30 seconds, I'm look away. Because yeah, she was beautiful. Yeah, and I think, and I like that as well. I think the waist thing for me is always really great because it's really weird because it's like oh, here's the light, you know that's like here's something back in the day. I always used to like that, but it's kind of like that, but like better. Like in like yeah, I think definitely hips were always a woman's powerful suit in olden times. Nowadays, much less. I think nowadays people just look at boobs and bumps, to be frankly honest. But they're not really looking at what the woman's doing, what she's saying as much. And I think that sort of level of seductiveness was also interesting. I want to see the Japanese ones though. You know the Japanese with the white face. I would love to see a similar one, but with the Japanese ones. I don't know what I forgot what they're called. You know, them women with the where they paint themselves and then they have the thing. I would definitely like to see that. I think that would be definitely really interesting. But yeah, I think it was interesting. Like I think, I wish there was sort of more to it because I definitely have an interest in Arabic women and I want to understand more about their lives, who they are, what they do. And I know it's a big place and there's definitely a lot going on there. But I've always had like an interest. Um, so I think that's that. Personally, if I don't know which one was my favorite, to be fair. But I definitely, yeah, I don't know which one's my favorite, but I definitely, probably with all of them. Would I want one that is a combination of all of them? Possibly, because I do like to text, you know. Uh, I do like to text. I like wisdom and appropriate decision making, you know. In relation to the youngishness, like Fata, like the new one, I think I enjoyed that particular energy in relation to the exploration of life and the happiness and joy to fully um experience reality. Like I think from the young one, the only thing I'll value from that would be like the style, you know, uh, and this aspect of curiosity. I think that was definitely cool. And the warrior one, I think like I feel like I'll just always know where. Well, ideally, it'd be like I'll know where I stand, but I know she'll probably lie a few times, and like I don't know what attributes I like from her. Um, I think she was attractive. I think she had that spirit. It would have to be just like the spirit is what I'm thinking, but I just like the spirit. Yeah, I think it'll be the spirit. Yeah, not like soul or something like that, but like I mean like spirit as in like action and veracity, in actions that are undertaken. Yes, that's how I definitely say the spirit, not spirituality, but the spirit. The uh, what's another word for spirit, man? Drive. Yeah, so I'd say spirit. I'd say spirit. Spirit is a better term than drive. Just yeah, it'll be definitely a spirit. And in a dancer, um, just say probably like the agility and fluidity. Uh, I think that she definitely had vibes and she should integrate into the ethos and she had that deep level of the physical attributes, of femininity, but not in a weak sense, so not in a weak sense. But I think I'll definitely say she definitely had that integration methodology. So she had various attributes, especially it's I would say, yeah, it's the in touch with self at highest levels in relation to her divine femininity, to her divine feminine. She's very in tune with the divine feminine. So I'd want that bit of her, which again extends into her body and being. So yes, I think so. So I think that's that, and that's what I liked about it. And some of the things that, like, it seems like I didn't like about it, but I think it was important and very valuable, and made it more worth seeing and hearing about. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. But I will continue my exploration of Arabian women and improve that understanding over time. But I think this was definitely good and gave me an insight into a part of that world that I would have never got to see otherwise. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's me rambling on. And yeah, and I'll probably soon have done the review of the play with this particular video. Might split it, but I might not at the same time. I think I'll just put like a marker based on what it is that a person might be interested in hearing about in this particular overall video. So yeah, cool. Thank you for listening. And I hope you take the things I say on board. And yeah, and I hope it's all somewhat like everything I've sort of put into context there is somewhat meaningful and has been valuable to you listening, if you've managed to listen to this point. Thank you, and have a great time. Take care. Bye.